This is a Southern Cameroons journal editorial with the subject, "There is urgent need to replace the governing council." Again, the subject of this editorial is, "There is urgent need to replace SCACUF governing council." Events of recent days call for a re-examination of the way key members of the SCACUF governing council operate, with the need for urgent reforms so that this stage of the struggle for our restoration is competently managed. On October 1, we reached a milestone for the first time in the struggle by formally reclaiming our country, the Southern Cameroons, from La République du Cameroon. Having done so, there really isn't much that needs to be done to prove that we are a nation. That is settled. It is done. The mindset of La République du Cameroon may still be stuck in their one and indivisible Cameroon. One thing is sure, they are not yet living in the reality of what happened on October 1. As we speak, there are two Cameroons. The one that got independence in January 1960, now headed by Paul Biya, and the other one that got its independence in October 1961, headed by Siseko Ayoktabi Julius. The Republic of Cameroon, Cameroon spelled with UN, and of course, the nation of the British Southern Cameroons, or Ambazonia. In the aftermath of our restoration, we have witnessed an unleashed barrage of pogroms in our new country against powerless, armless, and defenseless citizens by forces of La République du Cameroon. And as we report, the pogroms continue, especially in the Moyuka, Ekona, Moya, and Boya axis. Mamfe is seeing its own fair share of the pogroms, and of course, other parts of the regions too. The goal of La République du Cameroon is to weaken our resolve and to get us retreat like a dog with its tail between its legs. They are mistaken. The burden is ours to demonstrate to them that we have only just started. The burden is ours to prove that they can go on killing our people, but that never again will they rule over us. Never again shall we join territories with them. Never again shall we see gendarmes in our territory, harassing and giving orders. And never again shall we pay taxes to them. Never again shall our children be made to learn their language. But the immediate burden that we have on our face, and which has the potential to compromise the gains that we have made so far, are the schisms in the governing council. The governing council right now comes across virtually paralyzed, lacking agenda and clear direction. And it isn't because the chairman is inefficient. It is because of division and grandstanding between Milan Atam, the Secretary General, and Tasang Wilfred, the Vice Chairman. As a result of this, the governing council is weakened. It is lacking the impetus necessary to shape direction at a time when one is urgently needed. We cannot emphasize this point enough. The fact that division or the inability of the Secretary General and the Vice Chairman to see eye to eye is severely hampering the smooth functioning of the Council. We have a situation where the Secretary General and the Vice Chairman are essentially at war against each other, and the Chairman finds himself caught up in the middle. In the midst of this are conflicting leadership rules, where the Secretary General, for example, takes the podium and addresses the nation as if he is the chairman or the president, and the vice chairman does the same. Either the two have by their own volition decided to go rogue, or these are obvious signs that in the governing council no clear-cut rules exist as per the boundaries of each department or leader. Such misplacement of responsibility has to be brought to an end. Milan and Tassan cannot hold the destiny of the struggle to a standstill. This is a country we are talking about, not an estate. And people are dying as we speak. Two people should not be such a distraction that stands on the way of necessary measures that ought to be taken to assist the wounded and the bereaved on the ground. And no one should be fooled or made to believe that the problem between the two is about money or mismanagement. As far as we know here at the Southern Cameroons, Jonah, we are yet to hear of any incident of fraud or embezzlement of funds. Maybe they exist, but we are yet to see it. Maybe mismanagement is the word. That too is still left to be seen. But the main problem in Skakuf or the governing council, the crux of the matter, is animosity, mudslinging, accusations and counter-accusations between the Secretary General and the Vice Chairman. Last week, for example, the Vice Chairman put out a communique reprimanding the DOD for trying to set up their own fundraiser to help with the crisis on the ground. Shortly after that, men of the DOD requested for a public apology from the Vice Chairman. But the problem was neither that of the Vice Chairman nor that of DOD. The problem is that it appears that the Secretary General created the DOD without due consultation with the Vice Chairman, or the Vice Chair just didn't like the idea and so wanted to screw it up. But the Secretary General was aware of the planned fundraiser. In fact, he was instrumental to it. Had he and the Vice Chairman worked as a team, consulting the President before launching the initiative, it would have saved the embarrassment and the SCAPAC issues still under contention. Essentially, we have a three-man leadership in which two of the players do not talk with each other. This is unacceptable. The present setup of the governing council appears to accumulate too much power in one man, that of the Secretary General. He appoints most department heads and micromanages them. He designs and implements the modus operandi of the governing council. He manages a TV station. He liaises with the country heads. He manages the finances, among other things. We cannot have a leadership where one man is made so powerful to the extent that he dictates his way or the highway. In the three-man council, it appears that while the chairman is seen as the image of the council, in reality, he doesn't have much leverage in executive decision making. The vice president or the vice chairman equally really doesn't appear to have any say in most decisions taken. The Secretary General has become the embodiment of the council and the author and finisher of most action and decision taking at the council. This is not the interim government we asked for. And by the way, the interim government was only supposed to be as good as long as we work on restoring our country. Now that we have the country restored, why do we need an interim council? We need a structure that functions as a real government, not a council. We cannot declare a nation and then keep on referring to leadership of the nation as a council. We need a government with a cabinet, a legislature, and a defense department. Here is our suggestion at the Southern Cameroons, Jonah. Dissolve the present governing council, retaining the chairman who automatically assumes the title of president or prime minister. Heads of different countries and all statesmen still active in the struggle and willing to help to constitute or form the legislature. The president or prime minister should be empowered to pick his cabinet or team contingent upon vetting or approval by parliament or legislature. The president's cabinet should have well-defined boundaries so that juxtaposition of function and too much concentration of power in a single individual is avoided. And the president should be at liberty to form an all-inclusive government that brings in members from other movements, even if they are not members of SCACOV, for as long as they stand for total restoration and liberation. If we have a cabinet that is directly responsible or reporting to the president or prime minister, and they know he has the powers to hire and fire such situations as we have now, will be prevented in the future. At the Southern Cameroon, Jonah, we know there are folks in groups who will immediately jump to the question, why not just conduct a fresh election? The answer is, we really don't have to conduct a fresh election when there is this urgency on the ground to get help to our people. We have no doubt that Sisiku Ayoktabi Julius has the character, the will, and experience to effectively carry on with leadership. For the short time that he has been at the helm, he has proven that he is a man, he is a people's man, and that he has what it takes to be our leader. What he needs is a team void of rancor and bickering, a team that understands teamwork, a team that takes instruction from him and not one that seeks to coerce him into an agenda. So maybe a fourth conclave should be convened right away and a real government formed. But perhaps before that is done, an independent committee should be constituted to draft a blueprint of the nature and size of such a government. We will be willing to suggest some honest and neutral people who can form part of the committee if consulted. The luxury of time isn't on our side now. If we wait any further, the Republic of Cameroon will kill all of our young people before we get to the homeland. The fate of schools and that of lawyers has to be discussed too. Every man and woman of goodwill should be brought on board to see that we have a truly functional government, not a council. And before we end this, the Secretary General must be made to unfreeze the hold on funds raised during the Governing Council's tour and get those funds released to SCAPAC. Those funds were supposed to go to SCAPAC. That one person will arrogate to himself powers to withhold funds meant for collective good at a time when they are most needed is pure senseless. SCAPAC so far has done a great job holding expenditure on check, and any plan by anyone to scrap SCAPAC will be severely resisted. We will discuss SCAPAC and finances in our next editorial. Again, this came to you from the Southern Cameroons, Jonah. You can send us comments on this editorial to editor@southerncameroonsjonah.com. Again, the email address is editor@southerncameroonsjonah.com. Or you can also equally use the other address, editor@cameroonjonah.com. Again, editor@cameroonjonah.com. I am Chris Ano. Thanks for listening today.